On this Gun Talk Hunt, we're talking with the road warrior himself, Ryan Gresham, about his recent trip to Idaho.
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
Welcome in, all you Gun Talk hunters. I am your host, KJ, and with me today is Mr. Ryan Gresham, back fresh, looking good from Idaho.
Had a few days to recover.
It's a good thing, too, because your trip sounded ridiculous. This episode of Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Benelli. Give them a look, BenelliUSA.com. All right, set us up, man. I'm going to kind of let you just take the reins of this because I have questions, but, man, I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Idaho, elk.
So my dad has been living out in Idaho for a few years. He got a place a few years before that, was kind of back and forth, and he loves it out there. Had been doing some backcountry hunting, backcountry flying, and so he said, I know this place called Sulphur Creek Ranch, and it's in the middle of a wilderness area, and the only way to get to the ranch is by plane. They have an airstrip, a little gravel airstrip, or by horse. And that's the only two ways to get in because there's no roads there.
Right.
And
none of this e-bike stuff.
You might have to bring a few extra batteries on your e-bike.
Jeez.
I think there actually is like a trail maybe, but anyway, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so kind of central Idaho, and they do offer hunts that they're not guided hunts, but they're outfitted hunts. So they set up your camp. We have like a walled tent. They have all this stuff set up.
It's bougie. It is, man. If you see the pictures on this thing, like,
I guess that's relative.
But that's a good option for guys that don't have all this time to go like buy all this gear and everything, but they want to be in a good area.
Yeah, and I mean, I had help because my dad's up there and his two buddies who are mostly retired.
Also pilots.
And they're like, that sounds fun. We'll just go do that. And they weren't even hunting. They just wanted to come hang out for the week, which was awesome. Brad and Mike, awesome guys. And they've done a lot of hunting out there. They're elk hunters. I mean, so Mike, who, I don't know, he's probably roughly about 20 years older than me. Mm-hmm. He was on his like 25th day of elk hunting this season.
Yeah.
When we went.
That's serious.
He's serious.
That's all season.
Let's call him Mountain Goat Mike. He's like, yeah, let's go up that hill, way up, like up
he calls
there?
it. Oh, he calls it a hill.
Well, that's a hill.
That's a mountain.
Yeah.
Like for us flatlanders, that's a mountain.
Yeah. So camp was at about 5,800 feet elevation, and pretty much each day we got up about 2,000 more. So we got up to about 7,800, something like that.
And there was no spiking out or anything like that. You guys were all back into the wall tent the night. You didn't kind of bivvy out.
No, we talked about that. And we found some spots where you could bivvy and you'd be like right up in them, which would be cool.
Yeah.
And where they do the mule deer stuff. Some guys do that.
Yeah.
That sounds fairly hardcore.
Oh man, I would have been all over.
On the weather,
especially the weather that you guys had.
The weather
seemed like pretty good.
The weather was actually very good. If anything to complain about, it was a little too warm because I mean it got up into the 60s, and so when you're doing all that walking, it was like, geez, this is hot.
Shedding layers,
but we didn't have barely any precipitation to speak of, and it was pretty mild. I mean, it was in the morning. It might be in the 30s or 40s. Got up into the 50s or 60s, so it was beautiful.
Yeah,
and. I probably the whole time, we saw elk, we saw mule deer. I didn't see any mule deer bucks. Tom saw one.
Really?
Which I'm like,
did he get a shot?
So what happened when you shot him? Like, what are you doing?
But how far did he fall?
Yeah, right. I know. But if he didn't shoot one there, he can still use it going into November.
Yeah.
So he wasn't going to shoot a little raghorn, split fork.
I would have shot it.
I know.
In a heartbeat.
I know.
Like,
I mean, every single day, you know how it goes. Every single day on the hunt, you're like, ooh.
So you were what was your pack out like? Because I love gear. What was your pack out like every day? Like, what would you take with you typically?
I had to chuckle at myself because I totally did the thing where you take all this stuff and the next day you take less.
Nothing.
And then the next day you take less.
Yup.
You're like, we don't really need knives, right? Like, that's not going to be important.
I forgot a knife once on a hunt, and that's when I ended up killing something. And
Right.
I bring back this big old blade.
So I had, because one of the cool things about the outfitter is they would bring in the horses or mules to help you pack out if you shot something.
Really?
Now, that being said, there were a lot of areas that we were in. See, the whole time leading up to this, and the great part is you just call in old Val and he'll bring the horses up. And then we get out there and they're like, boy, he couldn't get horses in here if we shot something. Every single day.
Every day.
Every single day. Well, we'd have to pack them. I'm like, well, wait, I thought that we weren't packing
I thought that
out
was
things.
just drop a pin and leave it and then you're done.
Good luck.
Like, come
Come
on.
get my elk.
Come. He's way down there.
Yeah, but so I had like a big day pack, and so one of the things I took with me the first day was that Vortex Razor spotting scope. It's a little mini razor, 13 to 39 power. I had a little lightweight Vortex tripod. It was all strapped on there, and then I had my bino harness and my rangefinder in there, and they kind of were like, I don't know if you'll need that or not, and I was like, I'll bring it. I got it. Whatever.
It's light. That's the whole point on that spotting scope.
It is pretty light and it's pretty small, and they were all impressed by that scope.
Yeah.
However, after I didn't use it the first day, I can't remember if it was the first day or second day, or second and third day. But anyway, I dropped it out at some point.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't been using it. The binos have been sufficient so far.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of spotting, stalking, run and gun kind of thing.
Right.
So we weren't.
You weren't.
At least Mike and I, with Mountain Goat Mike, we weren't sitting around much.
I bet you were wishing.
Tom and Brad.
I wish we'd sit down for a while.
Tom and Brad were like, we found the comfiest spot all morning. We just glassed this hillside.
Really?
Yeah.
They would just.
Mike's
sit
like,
down.
ooh, let's go over there. Ooh, let's go over there. Ooh, let's go over there.
You always get in this trap, and I find this.
I'm making fun. He was awesome.
Like, you always get into this trap, though, when we all hunters doing it, is like, what's over the next hill? That's a dangerous game to play.
And the problem is, you're like, okay, that's a really steep hill, but you know what? Let's just do it. Let's see what's up there. And then you get up to that steep hill at the top, and you go, wait, there's more hill.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a shelf.
Dang it.
That's a shelf.
It's a shelf.
Dude, I hate that. Oh, so your spotting scope you ended up ditching, but I bet Tom would have liked to have that spotting scope. I mean, since he found a nice, comfy spot to glass.
I mean, we actually had it in camp, and we did end up using it in camp because we were.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of the one things about being in camp is we were miles back from the lodge that's also in the middle wilderness area. So we were spotting from camp. Actually, some elk did walk through, and there was not a bull in the group.
No.
A dozen cows. And
Through camp?
Apparently, Tom was on the gun in camp. And then this is as Mike and I were walking back.
Perfect.
And we spotted the same group. And I ended up getting on the gun, waiting, praying for somebody to have a nub of a horn.
Yeah, please be a spiker. Like, please.
First day, you're like, I mean, I'm not going to shoot a spike. By the third day, you're like, hope I see a spike.
Is there a button bowl in there? Like,
I don't care.
You like, and then all of a sudden the cows start growing nubs. Like, you're like, I'm pretty sure
You're
that
staring
one.
at them
Like,
going,
no.
one of them's got to have a horn.
So unsuccessful on the hunt.
Yeah, I didn't
So
kill an elk. Spoiler alert.
Walk us through that, because you know what? Let's take a break, because what I want to talk about is I want to get into the gear that you wish you had, and then I want to get into the shot and what happened after that, because it is a mystery to me. So this episode is brought to you by Benelli. BenelliUSA.com is where you can find all about the Benelli Lupo. You know this gun.
Yeah,
Like,
I've killed something with it.
What did you kill with it? You killed an antelope.
Yeah.
And that was we had that chambered in 270.
270.
270.
Still works.
It's awesome. But so what they do with this is they kind of implement their recoil reduction system, that like the progressive comfort control system they use in the shotguns. They use a modified version for this, which greatly reduces your felt recoil. 270, not that bad, but in a lot of their other chamberings, you will appreciate that.
Hey, look, less recoil is always good. It's going
Right.
to help you be a better shooter.
Better shooter always helps. But what I do like about the Lupo is the lines and the ergonomics of this gun. You look at it, when you pull it out of the box, the gun looks like a Lamborghini.
Yeah, it's a good looking gun. I mean, Italian design, that's their heritage.
That's their heritage. That's where you need to find out more about them. Find out more at BenelliUSA.com. You will appreciate the Benelli Lupo on your next hunt, because I can guarantee you it's lighter than most. All right. And Range Ready Studios. I just got done taking a DPI course, which is Diagnostic Pistol Instructor course. Okay, well, all the hunters out there right now are going, wait, why are you telling me about a pistol course? You're pressing a trigger. A trigger is a trigger is a trigger. Yeah, there's different like techniques that you do on both pistol and rifle, but the technique is the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to have a good trigger press. That's kind of like, doesn't matter what you're shooting.
Doesn't matter. Breath control, controlling that breath, controlling, seeing a target, keeping your sights on the target and making a conscious effort to press that trigger is what Diagnostic Pistol is all about. And at rangereadystudios.com, you can find out more about our classes. Sign up, because you're going to be the first to know about our 2024 schedule that is coming out shortly. So check them out. All right. Let's get into the actual hunt.
All right, fine.
Let's get into the break of the shot.
Bring up my pain.
I know it's an old wound and I hate to revisit it, but it's a lesson learning for me. It's lesson learned.
Well, you learn more in
viewers.
everything in life. You learn more when things don't go right. It's hard to learn stuff when things go right. You learn a lot more when things go wrong or mistakes were made or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad that you're here as a witness, as far as a witness to say you've hunted with me, and I usually
has walked away.
I usually hit stuff and kill stuff.
Right. So he gets back and I find out he hasn't killed something. My first reaction was he didn't see anything, because I know Ryan. Ryan is, there it is. I love elk meat. It's down. That's how it goes. And that's what we talked about before you left.
So we saw in total for the 4, 5, 6 days we were hunting, we probably saw about 20 elk the whole time, which I didn't know if that was a lot or a little. Mike said it was more than he thought we would see.
Well, that's good.
Which, okay. But we saw 3 bulls. 2 were like 900 yards away and running the other way.
Yeah.
So how this one came about was, this was one of those, let's hike up even further. Actually, where we saw that group go over.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Because maybe there's a flat place up there.
Yeah.
Maybe they stopped to graze, whatever. And so we absolutely killed ourselves getting up there.
Yeah.
It was one of those where you climb up, you're slipping and climbing and slipping and climbing. And I will say this, gear wise, trekking poles, game changer.
Yes,
I was like,
I told you would
I
love
walk
those.
without poles. I don't need poles. Well, there's a lot of deadfall.
Yeah.
There's a lot of side hilling.
You said you crossed.
This is a kid's show. I can't say what I'd like to say about side hilling.
Yeah, I hate it,
dude.
It's no fun.
Yeah.
And just the terrain and the deadfalls. You said you crossed hundreds of them.
Oh, first day I crossed hundreds.
Yeah.
All
It's not
day, every
fun.
day. It was just deadfall and side hill. Anyway, we go up, where you're going for like 15 seconds. You're like, okay. And then you have to just stop.
Yeah.
And you are totally out of breath because you're at this point, 7,000 feet. And I live at 20 feet elevation.
Yeah, 20 feet.
And
Most of the
so
time it's negative.
So you're huffing and puffing for a good 30, 45 seconds. And you go, okay, let's go again. 15 seconds of that. And then so anyway, we get all the way up to the top. There's nothing there.
Dang.
So we decide to stop and have lunch. So we sit down, have a drink, have our salami and crackers or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And so at that point, we're good. We're kind of like, this is awesome up here. Let's work our way down this ridge and see what we can see. So as we're kind of walking down this ridge, Mike goes, let me peek over the ridge, because you couldn't really see. It was fairly steep, so you couldn't see what was below us. And so he'd walk over about 10, 15 yards and peek over. Nothing. Keep walking. He'd walk over there and peek over. And then about the third time he did this, you could tell all of a sudden he turns around and he's like, soft walking back. Elk, bull, get your gun. So he goes, he's 80 yards.
Oh.
And so I had the loophole custom dial system, which when I was hunting, I left the scope at 200.
Yes.
Which gets me from like 0 to 250 or so. I don't have to think about it.
Right.
And I had it at the lowest power, which was 4.5 power. I had a 4.5 to 14 power scope. Jeez. So I was ready. So because I had a moment, I kind of got a little closer, just popped my head over the ridge to see him. He's standing broadside at 80 yards.
So is this a confirmed 80 yards? Like that's because that's
fairly sure.
I mean, inside of 100.
We went back to the same place the next day, and it was about that.
Okay.
From what I could tell, because we said that, and then I was kind of like, well, I'll be damned. We were pretty close when I went back the next day. He's standing broadside at 80 yards, kind of his head behind a tree, which like we felt like
perfect.
He's not seeing us.
No.
And so I popped up. I got a little prairie dog pop up and go, okay, he's there. Went back down behind the ridge, the grass. I put my scope to 100 yards.
Yeah.
Okay, he's at 100. And then I was like, I don't think I need, it was kind of tall grass. I was like, I don't really need to set up on anything here.
Right.
Let me just see.
Did you have something to set up on?
Not really.
Okay.
Like we had our sticks, which maybe I could use that. Of course, all the damn deadfall that would be wonderful. There was no deadfall on top of this ridge.
So you couldn't lay out prone.
Yeah, I was like, man, the whole, like, this was the third day. All these days leading up to it, I'm like, boy, that'd be a good rest. Boy, that'd be a good rifle rest. Ooh, I could lead against that tree. And I'm on this ridge with nothing. So, and the grass is like waist high. So you can't lay down prone. You're not going to see anything. And I don't know about you, but when I see animal and it's like, that's the shooter, I don't like to dilly-dally.
No.
I don't want to do the whole, let's take time and maybe he'll cooperate. And also, now, I don't even remember what the wind was like, but the wind had been wrong. All day, every day. Wherever we went, the wind was just wrong.
I will say this, on a shooter animal, the only time I will dilly-dally is if I know they're relaxed. I know there is no chance of me blowing that stalk. But in the mountains, wind does some crazy things.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't know when you're going to feel it on the back of your neck and he's going to be gone. So in that instance, absolutely, I'd be doing exactly what you've been doing.
And I will say this. Mike has a bit of KJ in him.
Oh, shoot it.
Kill him now. Like, oh gosh,
dude, I did that to my son on his hunt, and I like can't believe he did look at me and go, "Shut up," because I was the same thing. Kill it. Kill it.
I stood up slowly, just offhand standing.
Yeah.
I didn't do, I didn't zoom in on the scope or anything. I didn't need to. He's 80 yards. It's 4.5 power.
And this is a big kill zone.
It's a pretty big kill zone. The crosshairs are sitting on his shoulder, not like, whoa, they're just wavering all over the place. They're just sitting on his shoulder, and I just pressed the shot. And as soon as I pressed the shot, I had this giant primary weapon systems suppressor on it.
Right.
Mike goes, wow, that was really quiet. Because it's just like,
psh,
and he runs off. But immediately I'm thinking, the sight picture looked great.
Yeah.
But what the elk did was weird.
Just ran.
He just turned around 180 and run. Didn't and look, it was quiet, so you'd think you'd hear some sort of slap, some kathud.
Yeah.
Didn't hear that. He goes, "Did you hit him?" I'm like, "Well, the shot looked good."
And this is, I think everybody needs to know, this is coming off of lunch. So he is rested.
Yeah, I didn't have a heart rate that was crazy.
That's what
I don't have a lot of good excuses here.
They're running out because they're running out because I'm like, okay, his heart rate wasn't.
I'm being honest here. Like,
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we went down there, we looked for blood, didn't find anything. So, of course, my freaking chin was in my chest, just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And so the only things that I could think of possibly were, well, one, I just missed, which is entirely possible.
I just don't see that happening. I don't.
It's entirely possible.
See it. And then I would go, okay, was something wrong with the gun? What'd you do?
I went back to the camp. First thing, put the freaking paper plate at 100 yards and center punched it.
Yeah.
Going, okay, gun's not off. Which I don't know if that made me feel better or worse.
Yeah. Because I would be sitting there going, okay, did your dial get bumped to 600 or
right?
Like, but at 80 yards, like you shoot a lot.
You should be able to make a lot of mistakes and still maybe at least
hit something.
Even if it's a bad hit.
Hit something.
Right. So we didn't find any blood. So it could have hit a branch. There were a lot of trees and a lot of branches. It could have hit a branch. I don't know.
But again, there's a good chance you would have heard something hit.
And I've heard lots of people say that if you hit them high, like a high shoulder on an elk, a lot of times you don't find blood.
Right.
Because, and this is what I'm told. A lot of times you don't find blood because it fills up inside their chest cavity.
Yeah, it'll fill up. And I've got actually have an elk hide here right on the table to show, like, this is the neck area, high shoulder area. There's a lot of hair there.
Yeah.
That blood could not start until later on. Yeah. Because that blood is getting matted up in that hair.
We spent, I don't know, at least a half hour looking and then kind of, went out from that area looking and just didn't see anything, didn't find anything. So, it's a lesson learned. I think, my takeaway, I'm going to go ahead and just, maybe it hit a branch. I don't know. But my takeaway is I missed, and hindsight is perhaps I should have figured out a way to get a better rest. Now, maybe that would have been creepy crawling in because I said there was this grass.
Right.
Where maybe I'm beyond the grass or I'm just shooting because it was a kind of a downhill shot.
Yeah.
And maybe I could find a spot where I'd have a cleaner view, and maybe I could find a spot where I could drop down behind a deadfall and rest the gun or whatever. So
hindsight's 2020. I mean, you sit there and you look at it. I think you did everything right. Like, I mean, man. It just blows my mind because I know I've seen you shoot so many times and on a lot of different animals, a lot of different targets. I rarely see you miss, like, and especially at a zone like that. But it happens.
If you hunt enough,
it happens.
You're gonna miss. I mean, if somebody says, "Well, I've never missed" or "I've never made a bad shot," well,
you haven't been out in the field too much.
Maybe you haven't hunted that much. I don't know. I mean, this is what happened, and so. It was disappointing, but it wasn't the end of the hunt was, I'll be honest, like, it was a really hard hunt and it wasn't something I was used to. I hung in there.
Yeah.
I mean, even Mike complimented me, the guy who's been hunting for like 4 weeks in a row of elk. He's like, "Hey man, you hung in there." Like, and probably the last day I was like ready to be done with it. It was just, I was just beat.
Well, after, I mean, hiking up and down mountains,
I was
and
beat,
not
but,
seeing it.
I mean, feet hurt. Just
so
dumb.
what are a couple things that you wouldn't have taken into the field?
I mean, I felt like I was fairly lean. We each took 2 liters of water each day because we also had like water makers and stuff with us, but and filled it up with like liquid IV and stuff. That was key, and I pretty much used up those 2 liters every single day, being out there for basically all day.
Yeah.
Stuff I wouldn't take. I don't know, man. I honestly, the first day I didn't take my trekking poles because I was like, I got too much crap. And
I don't want to be dragging these things.
And I don't need to be holding on to more things. And I had my rifle was slung over my shoulder, and it was a little bit like top heavy with the suppressor. So I felt like I always had to have one hand on the sling just to keep it from flipping around. And about halfway through the first day, Mike goes, "Take one of my trekking poles." And then I was like, wow, this is great. And so the rest of the time I was using one trekking pole. I still had one hand on the sling. They gave me a little sling keeper, the little button thing that you put through the shoulder strap of a backpack. And that was helpful. Just keeps it from sliding off your shoulder. And I fell a few times. I don't think Mike fell. Maybe he fell once or twice. Brad, I hunted with Brad one day. He had some really awesome falls.
Really?
Yeah.
That was entertainment
like,
enough.
Dude, you were like
right there.
It was like Chris Farley falling though. It was majestic.
Like all the way down the mountain. Like, oh, thank you.
He did it so well. When I go, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah." And then you can laugh after he's like, "I'm okay."
Yeah. This is normal. This is normal.
But I mean, stuff I wouldn't take. I don't know. I was pretty lean. I mean, I had some snacks. I had a knife. I had my binos. I didn't, like I said, I didn't end up bringing the spotting scope. It would have been nice to have in certain spots, but for me with weight, and maybe that's the thing. If I had a lighter rifle scope package, maybe I'm feeling like, okay, I'll bring the spotting scope.
Yeah. That's tough, man. Anything you would have done different? You can't say, I would have hit the elk, but I mean,
I discovered, boots that feel fine, and have worn them for a couple of years on some hunts. Then you figure out that they're actually not that comfortable when you're covering 20,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
Get big enough boots, like the toe box.
Yeah.
When you're going downhill for hours.
Yeah.
And your toes are mashing into the front of that boot.
Yeah.
No bueno.
Yeah.
So good boots are important. I had fancy boots.
Oh, they were good boots, but they were
just
a touch small.
They were a little bit small, and so that was kind of a pain point. And the Luco tape, used the hell out of that. I did kind of pick up a little bitty tip. The Luco tape, you put it on your feet, avoid blisters and stuff. You take a strand, you wrap it around your chapstick. Yeah. And then you always have your chapstick in your pocket. Yeah. And that was a handy way to carry that around.
Mm-hmm. I'll do that with a water bottle too, is I'll take it and I'll wrap a layer of like duct tape around it, and then a layer of Luco tape. That way I've got either duct or Luco tape with me. Yeah. So it's little tricks like that, man. It's fun to pick up. But Luco tape is magic. And I will tell you this, I went out and I bought some, like, I was like, oh, it's black. This tape is black. It's like Hampton Bay, like tape or whatever. Okay. Like if you look up Luco tape on Amazon, it'll pop up. Do not buy that. Highly do not recommend.
Not the same.
Dude, it is not the same. Buy Luco tape. Like it's a game changer. And I've got to buy more. I'm already almost running out from this season.
Definitely, those types of hunts get gear intensive.
They do, and usually lightweight gear means more money. Like it just does. Like so, if you're gonna look for a lightweight hunting rifle package, it's gonna cost a little bit more. It just is. Mm-hmm. Like your lightweight, like little bivy tent or your sleeping bag and stuff like that. Like the lightweight tent poles and everything else, like that stuff, like it's just more expensive. It is. But
or you just get an outfitter to set up a big old canvas tent with a wood stove inside of it.
But yeah, you can absolutely do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, well, man, I wish you were successful. I was really rooting for you because, I don't know. I love it when people are successful.
Well, it's funny though, because after, it was really hard, and then after a couple of days and resting your feet and getting some sleep and all that stuff, then you're thinking about, man, it was cool to do something that was really hard.
Very hard.
And then I'm kind of like, I feel like I need some redemption.
Yeah. You do.
So
you'll get it.
We'll see.
We'll get it. Yeah. All right. All you Gun Talk hunters, thank you for joining in. And as always, keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.